Alrighty, now just to give you extras on EJ and GJ, which is very, very interesting because the price has not been in this area or this range since, where is the 2008 for EJ. Okay, so currently it's wanting to test this specific engulfing cell on the daily time frame. The reason I cannot mark H4 is because it's maxed out. Maxed out completely. I cannot even get the key levels for this daily zone. Even on the H4 I cannot, because it's maxed out. So what we can do is, now that we have the daily zone, you can see that the price is currently just right below under this daily zone. And the daily zone I usually would enter either in H1 or M30, meaning when the price comes in, I will check H1 and M30 for any of the setups that could happen. Okay, any setups that could happen. So if I were to look at the daily, you can see that the price has yet to touch or come into the zone, right? So we have to wait first, because let me just give you the price points on the daily on the daily time frame. If it wants to test this area and look for a sell, then it cannot break 156.314. Okay, it cannot break above. So it has to come in, then we check for M30 or H1 for it to at least create an engulfing cell for us to look for the second engulfing cell for it to sell down. Or if the lower time frame comes into this zone and decides to create a buy, we have to wait for the price to come back into that smaller time frame zone of that buy to see if it's a fail or it's going to continue to respect the buy. If it continues to respect the buy in the smaller time frame, then we know that the buyers in the smaller time frame are trying to push the price up even higher to break above the higher time frames zone. All right, so that's how we go about it. So for now, we have to wait until it comes into the daily zone for us to even think about doing anything, right? Because the next daily zone, that's the sell zone. For our buy zone, the daily is quite far off, which is this engulfing cell that failed, right? This is the daily zone. So if it decides to drop from the daily zone, then you can look, it has to break our H4 over here, another H4 over here, tap into it's not even break, it can leave a wick from here because it's so close to go on a buy if it does a deep retracement from that engulfing cell, a big push to here. But if it truly wants to go into but if it truly wants to continue to go up, we can try to find a small scalp. Check this H4 because this is the last H4 that just happened over here. This is the last H4 engulfing buy. If it wants to sell down and respects this engulfing buy, then we can look for buys to hold because there's a potential that it might break. But either way, if it sells down and it breaks this H4, it has to break this H4 also for it to drop all the way down to test at least this H4 zone of EFEG buy or the daily zone, right? So we have to wait. We have to wait for the price to enter our sell zone first to see if it's going to break our daily zone or if it doesn't. Because if it doesn't, then we can look for a buy here and a buy here. If it comes down and test it, we can also look for a sell when it touches the daily. But again, daily zones, pair it with M30 or H1. Okay, so for EJ, I will not be pressing anything and I won't be considering it in for my daily trades, especially today, until it reaches my zone, which I don't think it's going to happen yet. But if it does, during the news, we can see. Last but not least, GJ. Also a very interesting pair that's happening because the price has not been in this range since... what year is this? 2015. Okay, which is also why I have to mark it on the daily because I cannot find any more candles. For let's see. So the daily happened, engulfing buy, another engulfing buy, another engulfing buy, and finally broke. And this was the start of the break. It closed within and created this engulfing cell that broke. So now we have an EFEG cell. Okay, a buy that failed with an engulfing sell. So now that the price is just right below the zone, now the price is here. We wait for the price to come into our key level to test anything. The key level for this, was I able to get a key level? Or was that an H4? Let me show you if I can try to find the key, maxed out. Let's see H4. Okay, so my key level was from H4, sorry. So now we have over here. The key level that I got was from below, outside here, right? This engulfing buy. But because it's an H4 key level in the daily zone, the zone can be very, very big. Because the zone is from 180.956 to 182.285. Okay? That's a very, very big gap. A very big gap. So what do? Since we are in the daily time frame, you can see that the price has yet to touch the key level of 180.956. So we just go into a smaller time frame. Once it reaches our key level, we check H1. If we find nothing, then we go into M30. All right. If it wants to sell from our daily zone, then we can either TP over here. If it wants to sell, your first TP can be here if you have the capacity to hold it, because this is an H4 engulfing sell that failed. But if it breaks this, then it might want to test this zone over here, all right, because that's also a zone in the daily time frame. It's the first engulfing buy of this push into our sell zone. All right, so if it wants to continue up, but it wants to sell from here first, it can test this to continue up, or if it breaks this zone on H4, it can come down into this daily buy with a zone in H4, which is an engulfing sell fail, a power of both daily and H4 for a buy. If it respects this, then it can push through. But if it breaks below this zone on the daily time frame, then we have a lower buy zone over here, which is an engulfing sell that failed. Price came back, created the first buy over here. Okay, so that's it. But if price on the daily time frame breaks above 183.353, that is the limit of this sell zone. If it breaks above this, then there is a higher chance for the price to push up even higher. Okay? Whew, I've been talking a lot. So that's it for the two pairs. Please be careful with JPY pairs. They're quite volatile and they move a lot. So if you are unsure or you cannot find any setups that goes along with your trading plan or the engulfing theory, do not enter just yet. Just sit and wait, be patient until a setup has formed before deciding to enter the market. Okay, my iPad's about to die. That's about it for the two pairs. I don't think I will be trading EJ and GJ because it's very, very far off from the zones that I gave. It still needs a bit of time to travel, but I will see maybe during the US session if I can find any setups. But if I can't, then I will just let it go. All right. I shall get back to replying to your messages.